You're listening to The Foundation of Wellness, a refreshing take on diet and lifestyle, with Jessica Dogert, a registered dietitian nutritionist, and Marisa Moon, a primal health coach.
Hey you guys, my name is Jessica and I'm a registered dietitian nutritionist, and you can learn all about me on my website at jessicadogert.com.
Hey you guys, this is Marisa Moon. I'm a certified primal health coach. I'm an intermittent fasting instructor, and you can learn more about me at my website, marisamoon.com.
So today we are sitting down with Jared Ramirez, the CEO and co-founder of Enviromedica, which is an innovative health and wellness company that applies science-based evolutionary research to just formulate premium products that are as pure as they come. And their products are made only with ingredients from the earth and delivered with superior formulation and bioavailability, which means you're actually going to notice them working, and just you'll feel a difference. You'll know you're not wasting money on supplements anymore.
Good point. So Enviromedica's mission is to combat the negative impacts of the modern world with a mission to further the principles of evolutionary medicine as a new paradigm for healing. You know, I was first introduced to Enviromedica years ago at PaleoFX when I first started going. And they were giving out samples of this topical magnesium spray oil. That was new to me. I was supplementing magnesium at the time, but I never thought about it being topical. And I was super into it because it gives you like this tingly feeling. And for some people, they're sensitive to that. But to me, it was something I really liked. It helped me get more restful sleep. I was putting it on before bed, and it helped tame stiff muscles. So I actually bought a bottle the next year and then found it even more useful when my husband was having these unexpected trips to the bathroom from supplemental magnesium that you take orally. I was like, oh my gosh, I've got it. You got to use this topical magnesium that I have. And there you go. You have no more of those GI issues that you get from supplementing oral magnesium. And there's more than that, because last year, Jess and I were there, right?
Right.
And we had the chance to chat with Jared about the new products. The one that we were really into was the cartilage collagen, right?
Cartilage collagen and probiotics, which he's going to talk about later today too.
Yes. So we're going to spend most of the episode learning from Jared about the microbiome and how that relates to our health today and why Terraflora is so needed. And I think we'll open up with just a few things highlighting your other products, Jared, like how you used that cartilage collagen in your own personal experience. Thank you so much for being here, Jared. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, guys.
You're welcome.
So, Jared, do you mind opening up about a little personal story of yours and why you created one of your products, Cartilage?
Sure. So, you know, I'm an avid mountain biker, probably a little more aggressive than I should be at my age, but I had a pretty severe accident about 2 years ago on my bike. Was taking a bigger jump than I probably should have, came down hard, and never had any knee injuries in my life. And I suffered a pretty severe knee injury to my right knee. I tore my ACL, had a complete rupture, and tore my meniscus. And so there was a kind of a healing journey back for me on that. And so, you know, I did have a surgery to repair my ACL. During, you know, anything that I do, I try and design the most positive outcome for myself. I'm very research-based, research-focused in what I do and how I approach it, both in terms of the surgery and also my recovery. And, many people are familiar with collagen as it relates to beauty, skin. Collagen is kind of having its spotlight, I think. Yeah, it's having its moment. You know, it's been a long moment. I'd say we're going on around 6 years of some pretty heavy collagen promotion. But most people are not aware that there's many different types of collagen out there. There's type 1, type 2, type 3, type 5, type 10. And most of the collagen that's being formulated into products on the market right now are type 1 and type 3 collagen peptides typically from bovine hide or fish scales. And but there's a big gap in knowledge in terms of the efficacy of other collagen based products. So cartilage collagen is based on the principle of like supports like, right? So cartilage is a natural matrix of physiologic cofactors that support healthy cartilage in the body. Type 1, type 3 collagen from bovine hides does nothing to support cartilage in the body. And so, cartilage collagen it's effectively what we do. What it is it's sourced from bovine cartilage, exclusively from New Zealand, and it has all the natural cofactors needed to support healthy cartilage in the body. But also, there's been some research done in long ago, basically by Dr. Pruden, in cancer therapy, immune therapy, wound recovery, and my interest was specifically in the wound recovery aspect and surgery recovery. So that is what I used principally to help in my recovery with my knee, and it was very successful. I can say I'm riding again, probably as I shouldn't be these days. Exactly right to back to where I started. So. Yeah.
Well, cartilage is collagen, but not all collagen is cartilage. Is that right or no?
So cartilage is comprised of type 2 collagen. Okay. And other cofactors that are present, which are called glycosaminoglycans. Everybody's familiar with chondroitin sulfate.
Yeah.
Okay. Chondroitin sulfate is a very popular ingredient that's added to joint support supplements. But it's typically synthesized and not in its natural form as it occurs in nature. So what our company did is we're taking whole bovine, New Zealand sourced cartilage from bovine trachea that is freeze dried, that has all the natural cofactors still present. Has hyaluronic acid, type 2 collagen, chondroitin sulfate. There's a very special component that exists in cartilage that's not, especially the way this is processed, that's not present in other type 2 collagen forms, and it's what's called undenatured type 2 collagen. And the undenatured form, let me back up for a second. So everybody's familiar with collagen peptides that they add to their coffee and shakes and things. The way they get those to be soluble in water is through a process called hydrolysis, where they break apart the bonds to make them smaller and water soluble. So what that does is it denatures the natural helical structure of the collagen. In cartilage collagen, from this specific source, it contains a natural content of what's called undenatured type 2. And undenatured type 2 has some very special effects in the body. It actually helps downregulate enzymes that attack cartilage in the body. There's been some very promising research out in the field that's been done on this. And so it's based on the principle of like supports like, right? So consuming whole cartilage from natural animal sources can support healthy cartilage in the body.
Well, I'm sure just as much as it makes sense to consume collagen today because it's missing from our diet, our ancestors must have consumed cartilage when they were making nose to tail stews and soups and, long cooked meals that they were utilizing the whole animal after a hunt. And I think today in the modern world, we're missing those parts. Like, where do you find collagen on a human body and an animal body? We know it's in our ears, it's in our nose. Where else is it?
So it's going to be at basically the articular cartilage ends of your bones. So in between your joints, so that basically on each side of the bone in your knees and your elbows, all your joints have cartilage on either side that act as basically a natural cushioning for your joints.
Okay.
I have a question. So I know you said collagen is having a huge moment right now. I think we all know that. We see it in the stores, and a majority of it is going to be collagen peptides. But I read labels all the time. Of course, you mentioned it's really great for beauty, like hair, skin, nails, but it sometimes also says for joints and ligaments. But you're saying that unless it's cartilage collagen, it's not going to be beneficial for your joints and ligaments.
Well, specifically type 2 collagen. Okay, so there are some products on the market that are using type 2 collagen sources.
Okay.
I think that there's a lot of education that needs to be done within the industry right now. I think there's a lot of companies out there that just don't realize that different types of collagen support different structures in the body. Okay, so yes, there are claims that are being made out there for certain products that are saying, hey, well, we have collagen peptides that supports everything collagen based, and that's just not true, right?
Mm-hmm.
So type 2 collagen specifically supports cartilage in the body, and not type 1 and 3.
Cool. So just to wrap up here, that is the name of your product, right? Cartilage Collagen.
Correct, it is.
So that's how we really know we're getting it. And this is in supplement form, like a capsule. So you would suggest people take this daily, or it depends what they're going through? Is it a maintenance thing? Is it a preventative thing?
So I take it every day. I think that, as we age, it's a natural process where our cartilage deteriorates. That's just part of the aging process. Again, your body creates enzymes that attack cartilage over time. Some of these mechanisms are not as well understood as others. But what we do know through the literature and the research that's been done is that these natural type 2 collagen forms, such as what's sourced from bovine trachea, can reverse that process. Okay, so it supplies nutrients that support healthy cartilage. So natural chondroitin sulfate occurs in cartilage, quite a hefty amount as well. Hyaluronic acid that's used to cushion joints and also for the skin, that's also naturally present in cartilage. Again, the undenatured type 2 fraction of type 2 collagen, as well as type 2 collagen peptides that exist naturally as well. But there's also the kind of X factor, and which I refer to as, we don't know what we don't know. Okay, and Enviromedica as a company, we, through our formulating philosophy, we take a very humble approach to how we create product, where, at any point in time, human beings are very, we think we have it all figured out, right? But you get forward, 50 years, 100 years, and everybody looks back and points at the last generation, saying, "Oh, well, you guys didn't know what you were doing," and it's a cyclic process. It just keeps happening over and over and over. So the X factor is really, what are the other nutrients that we just don't have tests to identify, right? What are these cofactors that are involved? Nature has an intelligence that we just can't really put our hands around in its entirety right now. And so taking that humble approach where, presenting nutritional supplements in forms that naturally occur in nature that can support these complex systems in the body is, I think, a great insurance policy to how you choose to supplement.
Wow. There's a quote from your website that I actually took note of. It says, if you look to the earth, there is an intelligence that is far beyond the understanding we could hope to come to in this lifetime or 500 lifetimes. This intelligence is built into us as humans through evolutionary biology, and it's greater than us. Enviromedica embodies a respect for that intelligence. Sounds like what you were talking about right there.
It is, yeah. That's marketing. Taking things that I said and turning it into sound bites. But yeah, that's I'm a big believer in evolutionary biology. I think that I'm a big enthusiast into Weston A. Price and his work, ancestral health, and the whole evolutionary biological model. We are complex creatures, with complex systems, and we don't do well with any isolated forms of anything. And this will tie into the discussions about the microbiome, but effectively, who said that chondroitin sulfate is the end-all be-all to joint health? Well, it's not. It's one factor in a constellation of factors needed to support joint health. So again, we, and through our sourcing too, and especially with the cartilage collagen and our animal source products, sourcing is everything, right? There are other type 2 collagen products on the market. But the question is, where are these coming from? There's a huge supply of material from factory farms. There's a lot of sourcing done from chicken sternums coming from these factory farms. Our company does not support any factory farming sourcing of any type. We source specifically from New Zealand as a kind of a global example for animal husbandry. These cows, these herds, they graze free range year-round in New Zealand pastures. They're, the way they raise animals out there is distinctly different than how they're raised in other countries, and especially the U.S. So it's not just about the end product; it's about the entire supply chain, how these animals were raised, how they were processed, how they were treated, and that ends up in your body. So it's an important thing to consider.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that. It's important to me too. Well, I want to take this opportunity for you to explain just what evolutionary biology means for anyone listening that may be something they've never heard of before.
Very, very high level. It's effectively looking at evolution and how our genetics were adapted over time to respond to certain inputs. And so a good example, well, let me back up for a second. We are the modern human existence as we know it now in front of computer screens and processed industrial foods is a hundredth of a fraction of a percent on the entire continuum of our existence, right? Even less than that. And so, evolutionary biology looks at the imbalances that are created by these rapid shifts in our environment that just aren't supported by our genetics yet. Right. So, industrial agriculture and, monolithic crops like wheat and soy and things like that are extremely unhealthy for us now. Right. Will our bodies adapt for that over the next 10,000 years? It's anybody's guess. But what we do know is our bodies were adapted over millions of years to exist in hunter-gatherer type populations. As foragers, basically powered by the circadian rhythms of the rising and the setting of the sun, and so that also extends to nutritional inputs. What were we doing in our genetic past, in our genetic legacy, and so that's effectively it's looking at that entire system for what the effects are and how we can make changes to support health.
Yeah. Chris Kresser calls it evolutionary mismatch. I don't know if that's his thing or if that's commonly what it's called, but it makes sense because there's so many things that are mismatched today in our modern world with what our genes literally like on a cellular level expect from us or need from us in order for us to be healthy. And I think that's where evolutionary biology is so valuable today. No matter what your belief systems are, too, I should also mention, has nothing to do with whether you believe in evolution and human existence necessarily, because there are plenty of things that we see before our eyes changing in cellular evolution in the human body and animal bodies. So we have to imagine how quickly things are changing, like technology is such a great example, and how fast can our brain and our cells adapt to exposure to artificial light versus light from the sun, or how fast our eyes can adapt to reading on a screen like this as our sole source of, literature. So I appreciate you bringing that up, and it makes me excited to have guests like you on here because it's a big part of being primal and what a primal health coach really believes in. So I'm
Right.
glad to have you explain it.
And you brought up a really good example of just how, we used to forage and we used to be in constant movement every single day, but nowadays, we're truly just behind our computers and we're staring at our screens, and we go to bed really late, and, we're supposed to rise with the sun, but we don't do that anymore. We don't get any sunlight. So yeah, it's crazy how much it's affecting us, right?
Absolutely. And I mean, there's certain evolutionary inputs that are fixed, right? They're unchangeable. The best example is our circadian rhythm, right? I mean, from the time there was a single cell to our existence now, Circadian rhythms are built in, right? The rising and the setting of the sun, light and dark. You can't outsmart that, right? So that's, all that's very important to consider in terms of how we approach health. What were we doing 100 years ago, 500 years ago, 10,000 years ago, 100,000 years ago? And that can really shed some light on what we should be doing now.
And that makes me think about the big part of this interview that we should get into, which is soil-based organisms, probiotics, why you created Terraflora. I mean, that is huge today because our genes expect exposure to these microbes that almost no longer exist in our life anymore, except for maybe there's hope with products like Terraflora. So tell us what Terraflora is and all of that jazz.
Microbiome, it's fun, really fun topic. I'm very passionate about the microbiome, gut health. There's, just before we get into that, from an evolutionary perspective, soil-based microbes support plant health. The roots of plants, there's been some scientific papers comparing the roots of plants to our GI tracts. They are very similar in terms of how they function and the systems that support those environments. And we created Terraflora is effectively, kind of drawing from the name. Terra is Latin for soil. Flora can be many things, but in our application of its microbes, right? So soil-based microbes. So Terraflora was created to support what we call robust gastrointestinal health. So basically supporting the gut microbiome. Well, what does that mean? Our gut microbiome, I'm sure your audience is, at least, tangentially aware that, the microbiome is a very important factor in our health and well-being. Gut health being more important than anything. It's how we extract our nutrients. It's the barrier between what we consume and what gets into the rest of our body. It creates hormones. There's the gut-brain axis. It influences how we think. Every piece of research that's coming out now, there's some new tie back to the gut microbiome, whether it be, speaking of, beauty and skin health. I mean, there's the gut-skin axis. So the gut microbiome can support skin health, brain health, eye health, dental health. I mean, there's a lot of factors that are influenced by the gut microbiome. By no stretch, it really is the seed of health. You cannot have longevity and health without caring for your gut microbiome. And everybody who's had GI disturbances knows just how significant the impact is to their total well-being. So we, in formulating Terraflora, again, taking that very kind of humble approach to how we formulate products, we've paired soil-based probiotics, which I'll get into in a moment, with a diverse array of prebiotics that support larger complex communities in the gut. Backing up a second, I've been in this industry a long time, going on about 12 years now, and I've seen, multiple sides of the industry where there's a discovery of some nutrient or microbe, and everybody becomes very fixated on that for the benefits that can be had from supplementing with X, whatever X may be. But kind of drawing back to evolutionary biology, human beings do not do well with any isolated inputs in excess. It doesn't really matter what that may be. Physical activity, sleep, food, water, different foods, consumed more than they should be. They create imbalances in the body. And the same thing holds true to supplements. Yes, we can point to research where a single microbe is doing a specific thing in the body. But our tack is that the community is always more important than any single member, right? Not to cite too much, scientific research here, but there's a study I like to reference to illustrate that point. It's called a bacterial game of rock, paper, scissors in vivo. Okay. And so they take 3 strains and they're colicin-producing strains. Colicins are natural, basically natural antibacterial compounds that are produced by microbes. And they have three microbes, A, B, and C, three strains. And they put A with B, A kills B. They put B with C, B kills C. They put A with C, A kills C. But if they put A, B, and C together, they can all exist in equilibrium. Okay, and what that supports is the concept of community, right? Where again, if you have one member that's overrepresented in that population, it can cause an imbalance. And that's the same with anything, whether it be a nutrient. Too much vitamin D in the body can antagonize vitamin A from the body. Too much zinc in the body can antagonize copper from the body. Too much copper can antagonize zinc from the body, and so on and so forth. And so, what our position is that increasing microbial diversity in the gut is really representative of a healthy human gut. So soil-based organisms are a very unique kind of microbe in the space where everybody's familiar with lactobacillus and bifidobacterium and kind of the whole concept of you got to refrigerate your probiotics to make sure they're viable, and everybody's caught up in developing fancy delivery systems that include capsules with plastic coatings on them and really weird stuff to deliver microbes intact and alive to the gut. But nobody's stepping back to ask why, right? Like why? Like if there's an evolutionary underpinning to our intimate relationship to microbes, was kind of drawing from the primal blueprint, was Grok really was he using these fancy delivery systems to intake these microbes? And the answer is no, right? So where are these microbes coming from? And what is the vector for how they get into the body? Well, kind of drawing back to our hunter-gatherer ancestry, we had an intimate relationship with the soils. We had an intimate relationship with our foods. These soil-based organisms is kind of a loose designation to environmental microbes. Okay, yeah. Microbes that exist in nature. So these are microbes that exist on organic fruits and vegetables in healthy soils. But they're also in other places. But they're naturally resilient. They require no refrigeration. They're resistant to heat, light, the stresses of manufacturing, shelf stability, things like that. You could put these in a capsule and come back in 100 years and they'd be the exact same, right? Wow. It's actually there was some research that was done where they found 25 to 40 million year old piece of Dominican amber where they recovered. So there was an extinct bee inside of this Dominican amber, and they recovered.
It's like Jurassic Park.
Exactly like Jurassic Park.
The cane that the guy has with the mosquito in it. Okay.
I do. I know exactly what you're talking about. And so they dissolved the stomach contents of this extinct bee and cultured the microbiota in that bee's gut, and lo and behold, there was Bacillus, which is a very ancient soil-based microbe, which is present in Terraflora. Bacillus is a genus of probiotic, of bacteria that we have an ancient relationship with. And
not to be confused with lactobacillus. It's different.
Very, yeah. And so Bacillus are, again, naturally resilient to everything. They're environmental microbes. They are transient. So they make their way into the gut. They're effectively like good neighbors. They impart their activity to the rest of the communities in there. And then there's a period where they flush out over 3 to 4 weeks if you stop exposure to them. And so these are
they flush out. Wait, I don't quite understand that part.
Sorry. There's resident bacteria and transient bacteria. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Resident means that they take up permanent residence in there, and they're part of the gut mucosa for extended long periods of time. Nobody knows really
Mm-hmm.
how long, but versus transient bacteria, which get into the GI, they impart activity in the GI, and then over a period of time, their populations decline if there's no more exposure. Okay.
Okay.
So,
which is what has happened to us over generations.
Exactly. So
Okay.
if we don't have exposure to these microbes, they're not in us anymore. Okay. So we, that is shown in a mouse study that was done on Bacillus, basically, that you can inoculate a sterile mouse, and in the following 3 to 4 weeks after that, you'll see spores shedding in the feces of the mouse. But after that, there's a marked decline, and then they're no longer present. Okay.
Yeah, but if they're sterile, then it's like your ABC Petri dish example. I mean, doesn't it need other microbes in the microbiome in order to flourish?
Yes, I mean, that was a controlled study.
Yeah.
We're effectively trying to see what the half-life's not the best word, but basically what the duration of existence was in a GI, right? So yes, you're correct, but also that's borne out in other studies where these microbes, for the most part, right, especially with Bacillus, they are transient. So you can take, for instance, Terraflora. If you take Terraflora, you'll find these genetics in your stool for 3 to 5 weeks thereafter. But if that's your only dose, that's it. That they will no longer be present roughly 3 to 5 weeks after that first dose.
Wow.
So it's environmental microbes. They go in, they do their thing, and then you need repeat exposure to them. It's a kind of a necessary thing, which again would already exist in natural, hunter-gatherer diets.
So where would we usually be getting exposure for this? Like, it makes me think of less developed countries where they don't even have floors in their home. It's dirt floors in their home. They're preparing food actually crouched on the ground, and pots and, things where they're handling food are on the ground. They're literally in touch with the earth. Their feet, they're barefoot, so they're bringing those microbes into their home environment. I mean, what other ways are we sort of missing that opportunity in the modern world?
So, I mean, in a perfect, I guess putting Terraflora aside, the most, natural exposure to that would be, walking out to your organic garden and pulling up a carrot and eating it, right? Without bringing it back to your sink and spraying soap all over it or whatever it is that people do. Our industrial food system is designed to be, basically sterile, right? So they irradiate foods, they spray chemicals on foods. These exposures just don't exist through modern foods for the most part. So your example, you would have exposure, living in a dirt, living in a hut with a dirt floor, right? You touch something, and next thing you know, you get your finger in your mouth, and you don't realize it, but you're exposing yourself to these microbes. This is why incidence of autoimmunity, allergies, asthma is so heavily concentrated in industrialized societies, and principally here in the U.S., where yes, there are other issues that exist in communities that are less modern, but they're not the same, right? So the autoimmunity, allergies, things that are related to not having that diverse microbiome, that's where it ties in.
Yeah, I think they've been able to come up with some pretty amazing stats on how children raised on a farm, like a real small family farm, they have much less incidence of allergies and asthma and autoimmunity because they have micro exposures to dirt and animals and microbes, and where the rest of us are living in suburbia or in an urban setting, and you're freaking dipping the pacifier in some like antiseptic solution, and we're afraid to even let our kids touch the dirt. And you got to wash your hands, and everything's antibacterial. So I don't think we realized the long-term consequences, but now everybody's starting to get hip to the idea that, microbes can be our friend, or they are. I mean, a lot of them really are.
Well, and so you mentioned something interesting. Nature. The question is why do babies crawl around the ground and put stuff in their mouth? Right? Is that nature's way of inoculating the gut? So the whole Lactobacillus bifido dogma really was born out of looking at baby poop, right? So they were looking at infant poop and seeing high concentrations of Lactobacillus and bifido in there, and I don't know the exact time frame this happened, but it's been around for 40 years at least. This way of thinking where, hey, that's the microbiome, or that's a probiotic, and they do have efficacy. But once there's a shift from mother's milk to solid foods, and a baby's crawling around on the ground and putting stuff in his mouth, there's a rapid maturation of the gut microbiome that does not look like it did when they were on mother's milk as an infant, and it's more representative of environmental microbes. So I kind of look to nature and say, okay, well, why is that happening? And really it's nature's way of building up that diversity in the gut. Everybody has been conditioned to think that bacteria have such a harmful impact on us if we don't know what they are, and that's just simply not true. And a great example I like to call out is the bacteria E. coli, right? Everybody, I mean, what do you guys think when you hear the word E. coli?
Yeah, that's how people get really sick, right? From like ground beef, food poisoning.
Yeah, right. So, E. coli, there's very few pathogenic strains of E. coli in nature. Arguably those have been developed by human intervention, right? So antibiotics and, industrial food processing has developed these pathogenic strains by selecting, naturally selecting through evolution for more virulent strains. But the reality is that there's far more commensal strains of E. coli out there than there are pathogenic. And in fact,
means
commensal meaning they're just part of us, right? They can exist. Some of them impart benefit, others we don't really know what they do, but they don't have any pathogenic qualities to them, right? So actually in Europe there's a probiotic strain called E. coli Nissl 1917 that has been used for health applications out there for a long time. It was once available in the U.S. A long time ago. I think it was yanked off the market because the word E. coli just did not resonate well with with the FDA here. But that's just to point out that most bacteria in nature are either beneficial or benign, or just they don't have any pathogenic qualities to them. So.
How you and I started talking about Terraflora, Jared, well, not only was your awesome sample packaging, which I was like, whoa, what's this? But I was telling you that I always recommended to my clients this product called Prescript Assist. And that was a soil-based organism probiotic that I was shocked to find out from you, and then further validated through research with some stuff written by Chris Kresser, Dr. Sarah Ballantyne. That's Prescript Assist really started scamming their consumer base by switching their source, right? So I don't know if you're in a place where you're even allowed to talk about that. So feel free to say, I wish I could, but I can't. Otherwise, that's why you helped me to see we should be asking questions. Where are you getting this from? How much of the process are you involved in? And from what I understand, Terraflora is from beginning to end, formulating and sourcing so that it's the purest, most natural type of soil-based organism we can get. Whereas Prescript Assist, I no longer recommend. I at all. I don't think anyone should use it because they changed their source. It was like, I don't know. I'd rather you talk about it. Are you allowed to?
So, yeah, it's, we, so we are still, in the process of suing that supplier. Okay. So, we were previously a distributor of that product for a number of years. We stopped distribution of that product, over 2 years ago, because of supply chain, quality issues. I don't really want to get too deep into it just because, we've moved on from that. But through Terraflora, so with Prescripticus, we never manufactured that product. We manufacture all of our other products here in our Austin facility end to end. Terraflora is basically our evolution of the next soil-based probiotic, but it's produced in a very clean, research-based focus. Okay, so Terraflora, we are in control of everything from the fermentation of the strains all the way through finished product manufacturing, and the clinical research behind it. So that's about all I can get into on that. Yeah.
I was just going to say, it's really comforting to know that, Terraflora from start to finish is just like the cutting edge soil-based probiotic out there.
Mm-hmm. Well, and with Terraflora, I think the probiotic space has seen a lot of stagnation over the past 10 years. In Terraflora, we've introduced some very, very neat probiotic cultures in there with very interesting characteristics. So, the introduction, and let me back up for a second, the introduction of a new species or strain to the market for nutritional supplements, the bar is extremely high. Okay. So for each strain in Terraflora, particularly in the new ones, a full, what's called a safety dossier is required to substantiate its efficacy and its safety as a human supplement, right? So we've introduced 2 new species that are exclusive to Terraflora in this product, Bacillus Megatherium and Bacillus pumilis under our trade name Ribospore. These 2 microbes they have very interesting genetic pathways that produce nutritional compounds in the gut. Everybody's familiar with, I hope everybody's familiar with carotenoids like lycopene, astaxanthin. These are dietary carotenoids that have pretty profound impact in the body as antioxidants and have other applications. But Bacillus, these 2 strains in Terraflora produce, they endogenously produce these antioxidant carotenoids in the gut at the site of absorption. And also in the case of Bacillus pumilis, it produces abundant amounts of riboflavin in the gut, which helps increase populations of what are called strict anaerobes in the gut, which are critical to human health.
I'm so glad you're talking about this because what a lot of us don't understand is that it's not just the microbe being in your gut or the probiotic being in your gut that helps us heal or stay healthy and robust. It's really because that is alive. That microbe is alive and it's eating substances in our gut and it's releasing substances, releasing gases that turn into, beneficial fatty acids or enzymes or things that our body really needs from us. And I think that's the example that you're giving now. You're saying that from the microbes going to work in our gut, it's actually releasing carotenoids and various, longevity factors. Is that right?
Well, so in this case, no. So what you're talking about is through fermentation of other compounds in the gut, they bioconvert into basically short-chain fatty acids in the gut, like butyrate and propionate. But in the case of these 2 strains, they actually have the capability to synthesize these elements. Okay, so riboflavin, vitamin B2. Okay, is riboflavin. So our strain Ribospore can synthesize riboflavin in the gut. It does not. Now, obviously, it needs to be in an environment that it can thrive in, but it naturally produces these compounds. But I mean, probiotics in general produce a wide array of enzymes, vitamins, things like that. So most people are not aware that most of their vitamin K is coming from their gut bacteria. Yes, nutritional sources are needed, but your gut bacteria produce a large amount of the vitamins, antioxidants, and nutritional compounds that are used in the body.
Well, let's talk about who Terraflora is for, if there's anyone who it's not for. And some things that come to mind is, what if someone has a FODMAP sensitivity or SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth? There is also prebiotic fiber in Terraflora. Is that right? So is it for everyone?
I would say yes. Now, I think that, we work with a lot of clinicians with this product. And so I always, the clinician knows their patient best. And so, we always work with our professionals and our practitioners to provide insight on that side. But my position is the gut microbiome is universal, right? Some people may respond differently than others, but I would say the mass majority of people who do take this product find that it improves their digestive health, their gut microbiome in ways not achieved by other products. So I feel that it is for everybody. Obviously, children are kind of we haven't done any focused clinical research in young kids. I give it to my own kids, so anecdotally, I have found it to be very helpful. But we always recommend working with their practitioner in that case.
But it is over the counter. Like, anybody can order Terraflora. They can order it at, what's your website? Where do people find it?
Everywhere. I mean, we're, through Enviromedica, it's on Amazon, through a number of, e-commerce websites. If you have practitioners listening, it's through FullScript. So it's pretty widely available at this point.
Good. Then I can tell everybody I got mine on Amazon, and I subscribed to Subscribe and Save. And since I have 5 items or more on that subscription, I got 15% off Terraflora. So that was definitely a good way to go. Jess, do you have any more questions about Terraflora our audience might be wondering?
No, just to let our audience know, for probably 4 or 5 years, I was using a different probiotic, and I got the samples from PaleoFX, and I was so excited to try it because it was more of that symbiotic, prebiotic, and probiotic combined, which I've been hearing so much about. And I will say that I did feel a difference. I was going to the bathroom regularly, less bloated. I did feel more energized and less brain fog. So there's just something about Terraflora that works, and I don't know what it is. So I need to go on Amazon and go purchase more of that.
Yeah. Jared, it makes me wonder, is there a group of the population that you wish they would just go out and start using Terraflora now? Like the people that it makes the biggest impact in their life most immediately?
Boy, it's really, Marisa, it's hard to really put a finger on it and say this population needs it. I would say that, the less your lifestyle embodies what would be, more of a primal lifestyle, I would say the more that you need that. Okay. Mm-hmm. But if you're on a farm somewhere and you're growing your own vegetables and you're eating them without washing them and you're, eating a very kind of paleo-esque, you're towing that paleo line in terms of dietary inputs. I would say it's less necessary, right? Okay. Generally speaking, I take it every day as a kind of just health insurance, right? Your immune system is primarily in your gut. Since we've developed this product, I just running this company and the stressors of being a father and a husband and everything in between, I typically will get sick once or twice a year, very short-lived intervals, right? Like I'll get the flu, I'll bounce back a day later, and I'm done, right?
Amazing.
Since I've been taking this product since we released it to the market, I have not even had a cold, haven't had one single day down. My entire family, my kids, and my kids
Whoa.
are young. My kids are young. They're in, one was in kindergarten, one was in preschool.
Wow.
And not a single thing ripped through our house for the last 18 months. And Terraflora is really the only change that we made. So.
Well, some people might be wondering, how'd you get your little kids to take the capsules? You just break it open and put it in their applesauce or something?
Yeah. So actually, yes. So we first, at the time, my daughter's 6 and my son's 4. And so believe it or not, my 4-year-old son will swallow pills with water.
Wow.
He takes 3 or 4 vitamins in the morning, and he's super proud of it. And then my daughter will tap out like a half a capsule in her food, and a little bit of applesauce, or I've hidden it in like raspberries, things like that. So it's pretty easy. The taste is very neutral, so it's pretty easy to get kids to take.
Which is awesome, by the way. Prescriptivists used to stink so bad. I thought that's what soil-based organisms did. They were just smelly, but yours does not smell at all.
No, well, we use different ingredients in the prebiotics, that come from basically from seaweeds, mushroom extracts, things like that. So,
wow, we have learned so much. So let's wrap it up here. We are almost getting to an hour. Is there anywhere you'd like to lead our audience to learn more? Maybe your blog or your Instagram?
Feel free to follow us on Instagram. I know our marketing team posts great content on there. Also, Enviromedica.com. We have a pretty profuse amount of information on soil-based probiotics and the microbiome. And thanks for having us on the show. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. We learned so much from you.
Yeah. It was awesome having you, Jared. Thanks so much. And we'll have to have you again. You're such a wealth of knowledge.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Bye.